My mother understood very early that I loved writing. I was writing on everything. I wasn't doing my homework, but I was writing all the time, stories, poems, stuff. And she went out and dug around the garage and found her typewriter, her old World War II typewriter. And she set it up for me in the kitchen. One day I came home from junior high, and she said, "Dear boy, I have a little surprise for you." She took me out in the kitchen, and there's the typewriter, and a little stack of paper next to it. So I sat down and suspiciously, started tapping, and I realized how cool this was. That suddenly my chicken scratch was nice and neat and looked beautiful. I couldn't believe it. And then I figured out that if you messed with the ribbon a little bit, you could get half of the word black and half of it red. Oh, come on. The bottom was black, the top was red. And I was like, my words are on fire. And I became a fanatic. I was typing away, and I had a stack of these typings. I won't call it writing, it's typings. And I was just insane with it. I thought I'd discovered a magic ritual that nobody else had ever discovered. You know what I mean? It was one of those like, boy, wait till I call Mark Twain and tell him about this type of way. And my mother, again, a little surprise, found my pages, sewed them together, put a cover on it. I came home from school one day and she said, "Dear boy," a little surprise for you in the kitchen. I had my first book, thanks to my mom. So I like to say I had the bestseller in my kitchen. It was magic. I never got over it. So I was off and running, wrote like a maniac, wrote all through junior high, wrote all through high school. I didn't have money, didn't have a car, didn't have any chance of having a car ever. Couldn't take you on a date unless you drove and probably paid for it. So the thing I could offer was poetry. I was the poet. So I was writing poems all the time. That was just the thing. I didn't know I was doing homework. My parents pushed me to go to college. I was the first member of the family to go to college. Certainly my father, who had several groups of siblings of mine out there, in true old school Mexican style. But I was his first to go to college. And he was very happy about that. Both of them were very proud. And it was an amazing transformation. You can imagine. My dad sadly passed away in my senior year of college. And when I got out of college, I didn't know what to do with myself. So I went to work with some missionaries that were working in Tijuana, relief workers, but they were really Baptist missionaries, because I wanted to give something back and work with the poor, Tijuana garbage dump and so forth. So when you see issues about the poor in both of these books, that they're true, and they're lived experiences. In fact, in Beautiful North especially, there's a whole passage in the Tijuana garbage dump with garbage pickers. That's a real world. That's exactly the world.
Really?
And if you want to go there, not that you go, I used to actually, for a while, when my first books came out, I used to take little safaris there. People would call me up, say, "Louis, can you take us to that garbage dump?" I'd say, "Sure, let's go." And I would take these groups in. Sherman Alexie told me that I was doing dances with Mexicans, which I thought was But anyway, This American Life did a show down there with us. And it's on their website at thislife.org. It's called Garbage, and it's a really beautiful show, but you can hear the place if you so choose. So I was doing that work, I did it for years, and I was trying to write, I was trying to get published. My mother was thrown into a true catastrophe financially when my dad died, and just really hard times for us. The last year I was in San Diego, my mother, we were out of money completely, and for Christmas she gave me a strip of postage stamps wrapped in wrapping paper. And that was in the hopes that I would submit one more poem or story to a magazine. I'll never forget it. Kind of a classic writer's tale. And my college writing professor had left California and gone to Harvard. And he was teaching. What I didn't know is that he was the second in command of the expository writing program at Harvard. And I had, at that point, really lost track of who I was anymore. I was a translator and a baby washer and a burier of the dead. And at night, I did all kinds of jobs. I was a public toilet scrubber on a graveyard shift, out there going to public toilets and cleaning the bowls. Not exalted in any way. And I wrote to this man at Harvard after years of this, and I said, "Look, is there any way you can get me a job?" I said, "Can you get me a job as a custodian?" My dad was a janitor, And I've been doing it. I know how to do it. I just have to get away from the gang violence and the poverty and the depression. I like to tell audiences there are many times in our lives when people remember who we are when we forget. Sometimes you need someone to remind you who you are because you get a little lost. He was that for me. He remembered who I was and what I was. And he wrote to me, and I love telling this story because it's true, but it tells you a lot about the world I was in. He wrote to me and he said, I believe I can get you a job, but to get this job, you have to send me 3 published pieces. And I told my friends, Harvard, so exclusive, janitors have to be published. Oh. And my idiot friends were like, dude, the Ivy League, man, so exclusive. But it was to teach expository writing, which I cannot even believe, because honestly, there would be no way on earth that I would get into Harvard as a student, and suddenly I was supposed to go teach. How did that happen? I don't know. Miracle. That's all I can say. It was a miracle. And off I went. Now, my family in Mexico did not comprehend the concept of teaching writing. That's what it was, expository writing. So at my farewell dinner, my eldest half-brother, Juan, stands up to give a speech to the family. And he tells them, Luis, his handwriting is so beautiful. He has been hired to go teach Americanos how to write. I was like, it's not the Palmer method. So I went. And it was my mom's dream come true. The dear boy was at Harvard suddenly. And so I had to send my university ID every semester. She filled her wallet with them. And she'd say to people, look what the dear boy is up to now.